Welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to the Healing Heart podcast. And of course, I am your host, Donna Campbell. My guest today is so incredible. Her name is Erin Woodruff, and I'm so thankful to be sharing this time and space with her because not only is she a mom, a wife, and a CEO, she is a certified life coach who helps high-achieving women stay happily married to introverts, which I absolutely love. So as a life coach, Erin helps you reconnect with yourself so you can create the abundant life you are excited about. She teaches you how to communicate with confidence, clarity, and curiosity, love unconditionally, and create time for yourself. So she helps you uncover those limiting beliefs, those pitfalls, and other distractions you may not have noticed in your life. Her goal is to help you stop holding yourself back and to stop self-sabotaging. Erin believes that you are the only one who can change you and that you are the only one in your own way. And it is time for you to be yourself again. So welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, Erin.
Thank you so much, Donna. It's great to be here.
Yes. So share with us, how did you get involved in this type of work, helping women, helping other people release those limiting beliefs and really start living their life authentically?
I love that question. And I think for many of us, what we do now is based on our own journey. And so when I've always known deep down that I wanted to help people. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher of some sort. But as I got older, I realized that I didn't like teaching kids. And so my dream of being a teacher kind of fell away for a minute. But then as I got into the world of self-help and helping others, and I realized, wow, coaching is something that really sets my soul on fire. And I love helping other adults because I think we have so many resources when we're younger. And then as we get older, if you're not looking for the resources, then it's hard to find them. So I really want to help others learn how to communicate in their romantic partnerships so they can create that openness, that love, that connection, that trust that they really want to have so they can create the life that they're really excited about living.
Yes. And it's so fascinating here that you talk about stay happily married to introverts. It's not a line that I normally have and that I normally talk to a lot of people about. So I'm totally fascinated about that.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us a little bit about what that means for you, because you are a high achieving woman. I'm going to guess that you're probably married to an introvert. So help us out here.
Yes. And the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, exactly, I'm a high achieving woman who's an extrovert married to an introvert. And there are so many things I love about my spouse and my partner. And I think he is just the best thing on the planet. But when we first got married, I could see how vastly different, the whole phrase, like keep your eyes wide open and then half closed after you're married and whatnot. And I tried to see everything, but I really didn't understand how introverted he truly was. And I think when you're dating and you're putting yourself out there constantly, you're always showing up as the extra vulnerable person because you always want to be your best self. But after we were married for a while, I realized wow, he doesn't have the same goals as me. He doesn't want to talk to people. He doesn't want to come with me to things. He doesn't care about entrepreneurship. He wants to come home at the end of the day and just sit on the couch and watch TV because that's how he decompresses. And I found myself for a long time just doing whatever he wanted to do because I wanted to create that harmony in our marriage, but also just I wanted to spend time with him. But then I found myself holding myself back from all the things I wanted to do, all the things that I really needed socially or emotionally. And I was getting really frustrated because I was waiting for him to fulfill my social need. And he wasn't ever going to do that. And he still doesn't do it.
Right.
So I have moved into the space of understanding that I really am the only one that can take care of myself and my needs. But being able to communicate that in a partnership can be super nerve-wracking. It can be really hard, especially when you feel like there's a fracture in your relationship and it's because of them or because of how they are, because they can't give you what you need. And
Mhm.
being able to bring that up without damaging the relationship can be really tricky.
Mhm.
But so now with my clients and with myself, I always look to my inner wisdom and into my intuition of how can I communicate this with love for me and for them
Mhm.
and help them understand that it really doesn't have anything to do with them. It's all about me, but be able to create a strong, unified marriage and life that we want while maintaining our individual interests all at the same time.
Mhm. Right. And I absolutely love that. And I'm curious because, of course, I'm a high achieving woman. My husband is very introverted at home. But if you put him out in a social situation, he's the party goer. And I'm not
Mhm.
like the opposite of, I have to talk to everybody.
Uh-huh.
And we switch roles with that. It's kind of like
Mhm.
an ebb and flow. How often do you see that type of scenario where you're introverted in certain situations, but maybe other times you might be extroverted?
All the time. I love that you asked that because it's not, and I always want to mention, it's not one or the other. There's a huge social spectrum of things that falls on the introversion,
Mhm.
extroversion spectrum. And most people have parts of both. So being able to recognize and acknowledging where you're more introverted and he's more extroverted is so key. And even though I still quote unquote identify as an extrovert, I think I love all the introverted parts of me way more because I'm married to an introvert. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize all of those other things. So it does ebb and flow constantly. So being able to give yourself grace and normalize that is really important also.
Mhm. Yes, I totally agree with you there. So, when you talk about reconnecting with yourself so you can really create the abundant life that you're excited about and communicate with that confidence and that clarity, what are some tips that you have for all of the women out there that need to have some of those things so they can navigate through life and really have that life that they love?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love to encourage people to ask yourself questions. And sometimes, especially as women, I find that it's easy for us to fall into what other people want us to do, especially if you're a wife or a mom, especially in motherhood, because we're constantly giving of ourselves. Being able to stop and ask yourself, what do I want? But almost an easier question to ask is, what don't I want?
Mhm.
Sometimes it is easier to identify the things that we don't like. If you really, really are in the space of you don't know what you want, ask yourself, what don't I want? And
Mhm.
then you're going to start being able to open those doorways of possibilities for things you do want.
Mhm.
So I always encourage people to start with their own intuition because it's so easy for us to look outside of us and say, they do that and that's really cool. But ask yourself, do I want that for myself? Why or why not? And then you're going to start figuring out where you align with your own intuition. And that's where you're going to start feeling more in alignment with you as a spiritual being.
Mhm. So with that there, with all of that amazing information you just shared, how does that really help you in your own life, in your own marriage that you have?
That's a really great another great question, Donna. I love these questions. It is something, especially when I was starting to feel like, wow, I'm unhappy. For me to admit that I was unhappy in my marriage was really, really hard because
Mhm.
I knew I loved him and I knew I didn't want the relationship to end, but I was really unhappy.
Mhm.
So being able to even admit and accept that without the shame and guilt that might come with that is just a great place to acknowledge and be okay with. And then you can move into the space of, if I'm unhappy, why? What do I need? And for me, that looked like going to lunch with friends or going to dinner with friends, going to other events, networking events. I changed my job to where it was more of a extroverted job where before it wasn't. And I started looking at my life in a different kind of way, realizing that my marriage wasn't going to solve my problems and I couldn't change my husband, nor did I want to. So I started taking that power back into my own life of, how can I create the solutions for my own problems and still love my husband and stay in this marriage while creating happiness for myself.
Absolutely. I love that. So how do you take this model here and help your clients, the people that come to you, to get results?
Another great question. Well, like I already mentioned, we start with where you're at, or if you really feel distant from yourself, we talk about things that you used to do that you loved. Or we look towards the future of, you thought your life was going to be this way. Why can't it be this way now? Let's reframe some of your thinking, and being able to vocalize it internally and externally will actually allow you to feel that vibrational change within yourself to where you really want to move towards that change. You become that person that you imagine yourself being. But it comes with not only saying it out loud, but also embodying it and allowing that change to happen within.
I think you hit a really good point there, because you mentioned that going back to the things you used to love to do. And oftentimes in marriages and things, we compromise ourselves to help or facilitate or whatever the other person needs for the sake of the partnership. And yeah, when we go back to what we used to love to do you find that it goes back to people with what they love to do in childhood or what they love to do in adulthood? Because I think of my own self, and the things that I love to do are going out in nature, picking up shiny rocks, just being in that state of oneness. But that's what I did in childhood. And I would always go outside. Now, the reason why I was doing a lot of that was because I was avoiding situations at home, but that was something that I absolutely love to do. So do you find the same thing or the same patterns there?
Oh, definitely. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I always encourage people to go back to their childhood self. If they can, I encourage people to look at pictures of themselves younger than 10. Because there is your true innocence and your true just essence of who you are when we're that young. And I mentioned earlier, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher from the time I was about 5. But then as I got older, I realized teachers have to do all these things I don't want to do. And then once I hit my 20s, I realized, no, my desire to be a teacher has always been there. And when I could reconnect with my childhood self and really lean into her intuition, it allowed me to move into, okay, how can I be a teacher now in the way I want to be a teacher? I want to teach adults. I want to work with groups. I don't want to go to primary education every day and teach kids. So I do think there's so much wisdom in our childhood of those moments of joy. And you're going to unlock so many amazing bits of wisdom from yourself, from your natural intuition when you're that young.
Perfect. All right, everybody. We are here talking with Erin with all things about introverts, extroverts, working on marriage, and really getting in touch with your inner self. And we are going to take that quick sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little deeper with some of the things that she says that about uncovering limiting beliefs. So hold on, and we will be right back. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. All right, welcome back, everybody, here to the Healing Heart Podcast. And we have been talking with Erin, my guest today. And so we're going to uncover what are some of those limiting beliefs, pitfalls, and other distractions you may not have noticed in your life. And so what I'm really curious about, Erin, here is that the phrasing, you may not have noticed. And I'm like, what's a distraction somebody may not be aware of?
I love talking about this because we often don't notice the self-sabotage we put in front of ourselves. And working with high-achieving women specifically, if you identify as a high achiever, you may not identify as a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. And they are similar in many regards, but high achievers, what we do is we bring in all of this extra stuff to do, not because we're pleasing others, but because we want to prove that we actually can do it, or that we're worth it, or that we need to win people's attention or praise or love. And by doing that, we start committing to things that we might not want to do, or things that we feel like if we pass up this opportunity, there won't be another opportunity in the future. And if you do this for long enough, then you are going to run into what's called the hyperachiever, where your life is full and you have a lot going on, but you might not be in alignment with all of those things and might not even recognize it. And so when I'm talking about self-sabotage, that's one way hyperachievers or high-achieving women sabotage themselves by saying, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. No, I can't do that, but I can do this. And it is different from people pleasing because we actually do want to do those things. We don't feel like we're necessarily feeling neglected or feeling pushed around. But when we create the hyperachieving life, it becomes so part of our identity that we don't even realize that we're doing it to ourselves.
So when you talk about a hyperachieving life, which is so true of many of us, myself including, in all of that, I know my husband's always wrangling back in, making sure he gets time scheduled too. Otherwise, I stay in that mode. What are some tips that you have for people to really not go into that hyperachieving mode to maintain and create that balance?
Well, I will say I'm still very much learning every day because I have been the hyperachiever my whole life, even when I was young. And so the biggest thing, if you can't prevent it from happening, just look back and learn from what you've been doing without the judgment or the criticism towards yourself, but to recognize, wow, I really bit off more than I can chew. Or why did I say yes to do that project? Why did I tell my neighbor that I could watch her dog? Why did I tell my sister that I could bring 12 cupcakes to the birthday party? And start asking yourself, why did I say yes? Because that's where you're going to start uncovering those limiting beliefs and those pitfalls that you have. And the answers you might discover are because I didn't want to let them down, or because I wanted to. That's not bad. I say yes to a lot of things I actually do genuinely want to do, but I don't have the bandwidth for it. And so I'm stretching myself too thin. But then you'll start uncovering those pitfalls of how your hyperachiever shows up and
Mhm.
how it is actually sabotaging you, because you do want to do those things, but that doesn't mean you need to be doing those things.
Mhm. Right. Absolutely there. One of the things that I think about too, and as I was listening, is why do we say yes to everything that's outside of us and not necessarily yes to ourselves, to what we truly want and truly desire? And I think one of the biggest lessons that I had, and I even talk and write about this in the Financially Fit book that I have, is that happiness is truly on the inside. And
Mhm.
if you're going around saying yes to everything outside of you, for everybody else, it may not be bringing you back that true happiness.
Mhm.
And if you stop before you say yes and assess your own, I call it your happiness meter, how do you really feel on the inside if I said yes to this opportunity? If I said yes to bringing all the cupcakes to a bake sale, if I said
Mhm.
yes to, is it really for your happiness or for somebody else's happiness?
Mhm.
Share with me some of your thoughts on that.
I love that. That's a great additional question to what I've already been saying of, is this yes for me or yes for them? Is this going to bring happiness to them or to me?
Mhm,
Because we can find a lot of happiness internally from serving someone else, and I'm a big believer in that.
mhm,
But I'll I'll use my own example as a business owner. I want to say yes to everything, and I'm sure, Donna, you run into this too, as far as freebies to make or podcasts to record, courses to make, helping clients. We genuinely want to say yes to everything. But deep down, we know as the business owner that saying yes to the things that are going to bring us the long-term happiness are the scariest.
mhm,
And they take the most work from us because it takes the most vulnerability also.
mhm.
And so when we say yes to ourselves, we're allowing ourselves to be potentially let down in some way because we know that we're saying yes to ourselves.
Mhm,
And so being able to step into that ownership and power of, you know how to take care of yourself. You can create happiness within yourself. You are the one that is creating the life that you want to have, and that will allow you to say yes more and more and more to yourself. And it will unlock so many doors and so many avenues of happiness for you.
mhm. Perfect. I think, yes, it does. And it does open up all of those prosperity doors, as we say, and overcome those self sabotaging afterthoughts that we go through. How do people connect with you? How do they reach out with you if they want to know more?
Well, thanks for asking. You can find me on Instagram as the easiest place. My handle is Erin Woodruff Coaching, or you can go to my website, erinwoodruffcoaching.com.
Perfect. And was there more
Oh,
there?
yes, sorry.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, I was also gonna say I have a hard conversations toolbox for your audience. It's completely
Oh,
free. It's a guide. It's about 24 pages long, and it's a really great guide that walks you through how to have hard conversations. If you feel like something that we've talked about today resonates with you and you don't know how to talk about it with somebody else, it will guide you through how to have a hard conversation when you've never had one before. And you can grab it at erinwoodruffcoaching.com/toolbox.
I love it because, you know, that is truly, truly priceless right there because not a lot of people know how to have those conversations. So, everybody, all of her information is going to be in the show notes. Definitely click on those links, grab those free bonuses, reach out to Erin because she has a lot of amazing wisdom to share with everyone. And take it from me, from somebody who's gone through the same process there. She has it dialed in. So, Erin, any last words you have?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. And I hope anyone who's listening, you can truly believe that you can heal and you can find your inner voice and lean into your intuition and create the life that you are excited about living.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Create the life that you absolutely love living. Perfect. All right. And for all of our listeners out there, as always, make sure you go create that beautiful day.